She knew approaching a man like Minho was insane. But standing outside the glass skyscraper at midnight, wedding invitation burning in her purse, Sandra realized she'd rather dance with danger than face her ex's pity alone. Sandra's fingers trembled as she stood in the empty parking garage, the fluorescent lights humming like funeral music. 3 years as an executive secretary, and she still felt invisible. Not to the CEO, he valued her efficiency, but to them, the corporate wives who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. Her ex-fiancé, David's mother, who'd called her a phase at Thanksgiving dinner, while David said nothing. The wedding invitation sat in her car, cream-colored and cruel. David Morrison and Jennifer Chen request your presence. Jennifer. Petite. Connections in every major firm. Family money that whispered instead of shouted. Everything Sandra wasn't. She'd cried for 3 days after David ended things. It's not about race, he'd lied. We just want different things. Translation, his family wanted different things. Someone who fit their country club pictures. Now, watching her reflection in a car window, natural hair she'd finally stopped straightening, curves she'd stopped apologizing for, Sandra made a decision born of rage and heartbreak. Across the city, Min-ho Kim sat in his penthouse office, Seoul's night skyline reflected in floor-to-ceiling windows. Blood still stained his knuckles from tonight's negotiation. In his world, loyalty was currency and betrayal was death. His phone buzzed. Another business acquisition complete. Another competitor absorbed. At 34, he'd built an empire that terrified Seoul's underworld and infiltrated America's corporate elite. Everyone wanted his partnership. No one wanted his truth. The loneliness didn't used to bother him. Now it felt like drowning in expensive silence. His assistant's name flashed on his screen. Sandra Monroe. Urgent. He'd noticed her before. The American secretary who never flinched when he entered rooms, who looked him directly in the eye when others studied the floor. Who moved through his business partner's office with quiet dignity, while others whispered about the dangerous Korean associate. Interesting timing, he answered. Have you ever been so desperate to prove your worth that you'd risk everything? What would you do in Sandra's position? Drop your thoughts below. I need you to be my fiancé. The words exploded into Minho's penthouse like a grenade. Sandra stood in his doorway, chest heaving, still wearing her work clothes. She'd driven here on pure adrenaline, bypassed security with his name, and now faced the most dangerous man she'd ever met. Minho's expression didn't change. He set down his whiskey glass with deliberate care. Repeat that. My ex is getting married in 6 weeks. I need a fiancé. Someone so impressive his family will choke on their judgment. Her voice cracked but held. I'll pay you. I don't know what you need, but I'm desperate. The silence stretched like razor wire. Minho studied her, really studied her. Most people couldn't hold his gaze for 5 seconds. Sandra's dark eyes blazed with humiliation and defiance, unshed tears making them shine. You know what I am, he said quietly. Not a question. I know you're connected to Mr. Park's other businesses. I know people are afraid of you. She stepped closer, reckless. I know you could destroy me with a phone call, but right now, Minho, I don't care. I'm already destroyed. Something shifted in his chest. He recognized that particular brand of desperation, the kind that came from being dismissed, from having your worth measured and found wanting. He'd felt it himself years ago before power became his armor. Why me? Because you're terrifying and untouchable. Because one look at you and David's family will realize I was never their charity case. I was the one who got away. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because I have nothing left to lose. Minho stood towering over her. Sandra didn't retreat, didn't flinch. You have everything to lose, he said, but I'll do it anyway. Her knees nearly buckled. Why? His smile was dark velvet. Because I'm curious what happens when someone finally sees you. The next morning, Sandra's phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Car arrives at 7. Wear something expensive. MH, Panic clawed up her throat. What had she done? She'd propositioned a mafia boss. This wasn't a rom-com. This was her life, possibly her death sentence. The black Mercedes arrived precisely at 7. The driver handed her a garment bag without speaking. Inside, a dress that cost more than her monthly rent. Deep emerald silk that made her skin glow. A note in sharp handwriting. First lesson. Never apologize for taking up space. Minho's office occupied an entire floor of a building downtown. Not his legitimate front, his real headquarters. Sandra's heels clicked against marble as hard-eyed men watched her pass. She'd entered the wolf's den voluntarily. He sat behind a desk of dark wood, perfectly tailored in black. We have 6 weeks. That's not enough time to make this convincing. I can be convincing, Sandra said, hating how small her voice sounded. Can you? Minho stood circling her like a predator. Can you touch me without trembling? Look at me without fear? Convince a room full of people that you chose me willingly? She turned to face him, anger replacing terror. Can you pretend to care about someone, or is that too human for the great Minho Kim? His jaw tightened. Direct hit. This was a mistake, Sandra whispered. I should go. You should. His voice was granite. But you won't. Because despite the fear, you'd rather face me than face them alone. The truth hung between them, brutal and bare. I hate that you're right, she breathed. I hate that I understand. He returned to his desk. We start tomorrow. My driver will collect you at 6 p.m. Don't be late. After she left, Minho poured another drink. His hands weren't quite steady. The restaurant was exclusive, the kind without signs where power brokers made deals over Wagyu and secrets. Minho had reserved the private room. First test, he said, pulling out Sandra's chair. My business associates, they need to believe you're mine. Mine. The word sent electricity down her spine. What do I need to know? Sandra asked, accepting the wine he poured. Don't lie, they'll smell it. His eyes held hers. But don't tell the whole truth either. Let them wonder. Mystery is power. 3 men entered, Korean, older, dangerous. They spoke rapidly, assessing Sandra with calculating eyes. She understood enough Korean to catch the word Hugin, black, the subtle dismissal in their tone. Minho's response was ice. He switched to English, his hand finding Sandra's. Gentlemen, my fiancée Sandra. Disrespect her again, and we're done. The room froze. Sandra's heart hammered. This wasn't part of the plan. He was actually defending her. The eldest man bowed slightly. Our apologies, Miss Monroe. We meant no offense. The dinner continued with new weight. Minho's thumb traced circles on her palm under the table. Protective, possessive, gentle. Sandra found herself leaning into him, the act becoming uncomfortably real. Later in his car, she confronted him. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. His voice was rough. No one disrespects what's mine. I'm not actually yours. For 6 weeks, you are. He turned to face her. Which means for 6 weeks, I protect you. That's the deal. That wasn't the deal. It is now. His eyes blazed. You asked for impressive. I don't do anything halfway, Sandra. If we're doing this, we do it right. The air between them crackled. Dangerous, electric, real. Okay, she whispered. Then teach me your world. His smile was pure danger. Lesson 1 starts now. When does pretending become real? At what point would you stop fighting the connection? Tell us below and subscribe because the secrets get darker from here. Minho's penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel. Sandra stood by the windows, soul glittering below like scattered diamonds. Why did you really say yes? She asked. They'd spent 2 weeks in forced proximity, dinners, events, his hand constantly at her back. The lines were blurring. Minho poured 2 glasses of soju. I was 17 when I first came to America. Scholarship student, broken English, wrong clothes. There was a girl, Emily. Blonde, perfect, everything I'd never have. Sandra's chest tightened. She knew this story. Her father called me the Korean boy, like I was a curiosity, a phase. His knuckles whitened around the glass. She married a banker. I built an empire to prove I was worth something. And now, Sandra whispered, now I know worth isn't measured by their approval. He looked at her. But knowing and believing are different things. Sandra moved closer. David's mother asked me once if I was articulate, like she expected me not to be, like my Ivy League degree meant nothing because of my skin. What did you say? Nothing. I smiled and proved I belonged. Her voice broke. I spent 3 years proving it was never enough. Minho's hand cupped her face, his touch impossibly gentle for such dangerous hands. You've spent your whole life making yourself smaller, palatable, safe. So have you, she countered. Different armor, same wound. Yes. His forehead touched hers. Which is why this is dangerous, Sandra. We're not playing pretend anymore. I know. Her fingers traced his jaw. Minho, I'm terrified. So am I. His lips brushed hers, feather-light. But I haven't felt alive in years until you walked into my office with that insane proposal. The kiss that followed was inevitable. Desperate. Real. Everything had changed. Sandra woke in Minho's bed, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. His arm was draped across her waist, his breathing even and peaceful. For a man who controlled an empire of shadows, he looked almost vulnerable in sleep. You're staring, he mumbled, eyes still closed. You're beautiful, she said honestly. His eyes opened, dark, intense, unguarded. So are you. I've thought so since the first time you walked past my table without flinching. I was terrified, she admitted. I know, but you didn't show it. He pulled her closer. That's when I knew you were dangerous. They spent the day in his penthouse. No business, no performance. Just them. Minho cooked Korean breakfast, teaching her to make kimchi jjigae. Sandra played music from her childhood, Motown and neo-soul swaying in his kitchen. My mother would have loved you, he said quietly. She always said power means nothing if you use it to make yourself lonely. Is that what you've been? Lonely? Isolated, he corrected. There's a difference. Loneliness implies you want connection. I convinced myself I didn't. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Then you happened. The wedding is in 3 weeks, Sandra whispered. What happens after? What do you want to happen? I want this to be real. The confession felt like jumping off a cliff. But I'm scared you're only here because I asked. Because it's convenient. Minho turned her to face him fully. Sandra, I've killed men for less than convenience. I don't do anything that doesn't serve me. His eyes burned. You serve my heart. That's terrifying and rare and precious. So we're doing this? Actually doing this? If you'll have a dangerous man with blood on his hands, she kissed him hard. If you'll have a woman who's still learning she's worthy of love. Deal! The call came at 2 a.m. Minho's phone blazing in the darkness. He answered in rapid Korean, his body going rigid. Sandra sat up, dread pooling in her stomach. She watched his face transform, the gentle lover disappearing, replaced by the cold strategist. He ended the call. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. What happened? Sandra asked. Business? I have to go. He was already dressing, movements efficient and detached. Minho? Stay here, don't leave the penthouse. You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. His voice was ice. This is who I am, Sandra. This is the reality you signed up for. She grabbed his arm. Talk to me, please. He pulled away. One of my men betrayed me. I have to handle it. That means things you don't want to know about. I can handle... Can you? He turned on her, eyes blazing. Can you handle knowing I'm about to destroy someone? That I'll come back with blood on my conscience? This isn't a romance, Sandra. This is my life. The words cut like glass. So what am I? Just your secretary playing dress up? Don't. His voice cracked. Don't reduce this. Then don't shut me out. Tears streamed down her face. You can't tell me I'm worthy of love and then treat me like I'm too fragile for your truth. Maybe you are. The words hung between them, brutal. Maybe I was wrong thinking someone like you could exist in someone like my world. Sandra's world shattered. Someone like me? That's not what I... Get out. Her voice was steel through tears. Handle your business. I'll be gone when you return. Sandra? I said get out. The door closing behind him sounded like the end of everything. Has someone ever pushed you away to protect you? Would you fight for them or walk away? Comment below and subscribe. The final acts will break and heal your heart. Sandra packed at dawn, tears blurring her vision. She'd been a fool. All those moments, his gentleness, his protection, his vulnerability, they'd felt real. But at the first sign of his actual life, he'd reduced her to someone like you. She understood now. She'd always be the outsider, to David's family, to Minho's world. Maybe she was meant to walk through life alone. Her phone buzzed. David's number. She almost didn't answer. Sandra, I heard you're bringing someone to the wedding. His voice carried that familiar condescension. Listen, you don't have to prove anything. We can say you had a conflict. I'm coming, she said coldly, and I'm bringing exactly who I want. Jenny's parents are very traditional. If you're bringing someone to make a statement, everything I do is a statement to you, isn't it? Rage replaced heartbreak. I exist, I'm a statement. I succeed, I'm aggressive. I find someone, I'm proving something. Did it ever occur to you I might just be living my life? Sandra, I loved you, David, genuinely. And you let your family treat me like a charity case. But that's on me for staying. Her voice strengthened. I'm done shrinking. Tell Jenny's parents, traditional or not, they're going to see exactly who Sandra Monroe is, with or without Minho. She hung up, stared at her packed bags. Who was she without someone validating her worth? Without David's approval or Minho's protection? The door opened. Minho stood there still in last night's clothes. His eyes were haunted. I handled it without violence, he said quietly. I made a choice. Business or you. I chose you. Minho, let me finish. He stepped inside. You're right, I can't love you and hide my darkness. But I can choose to walk away from darkness, for you, if you'll still have me. The wedding venue glittered with privilege and pretense. Sandra entered on Minho's arm, head high, wearing a dress the color of midnight. Powerful, unapologetic, stunning. Whispers rippled through the crowd. David's mother's face went pale. Jenny's parents stared. You look like a queen, Minho murmured. Because you are. David approached during cocktails, eyes widening at Minho. Sandra, I didn't know you were dating someone extraordinary. She smiled. Neither did I. I'm Minho Kim. His handshake was firm, possessive. Sandra's fiancé. David's composure cracked. Fiancé? Sandra's hand found Minho's, their fingers interlacing naturally. Turns out when someone actually values you, things move fast. David's mother materialized, judgment radiating. How lovely. And what do you do, Mr. Kim? I built a telecommunications empire across Asia, Minho said smoothly. But my greatest achievement is convincing Sandra I'm worthy of her. That's proving difficult. Sandra's heart cracked open. She always did aim above her station, David's mother sniffed. Minho's smile went dangerous. Careful. You're describing my future wife, and I'm very protective of what's mine. The power shift was seismic, visible, complete. Later, outside under string lights, Minho pulled Sandra close. I quit the shadows today, completely. Sold my underground operations. I'm going legitimate. Minho, you didn't have to... Yes, I did. You made me remember who I wanted to be before survival became cruelty. His forehead touched hers. I choose you. I choose light. I choose us. I choose us too, Sandra whispered. Not to prove anything to them, but because you make me feel seen. Always, he promised. Every beautiful, powerful, worthy part of you. Their kiss tasted like freedom. Inside, David watched through windows, finally understanding what he'd lost. Not Sandra's potential, her heart. Sometimes the most desperate choices lead to the greatest love. Sometimes being seen by one person matters more than being accepted by everyone. What would you have done at the wedding? Stayed quiet or shown them who you became? Tell us your thoughts and subscribe for more stories of love at last. Your comment might inspire our next story.